Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness, brought to you by DraftKings and their app Pick Six. Sign up with code Madness6 for up to $50 in free credits. This is LZ. I'm here with Nick, and today we're going to be discussing the Card Vault news brought to you
Mhm.
by Tom Brady. Um, but that's big news in the hobby, and we want to discuss kind of this partnership that Brady has entered with Card Vault, what it means for the hobby. Are there going to be other celebrities or athletes getting into this hobby? And then we're also going to discuss, put our business hats on, which we love to do, and say, hey, if we could wave our magic wand, what would be our ideal local card shop? Nick, how you doing, man? Let's jump right into it.
I'm good. I'm good. What's cool about the Card Vault news is they're pretty local. We know Chris Costa fairly well. Him and
Mhm.
I, spoke that day. The news went down, and we did a video on Instagram together about it. So it's pretty cool to know that like something moving and shaking in the card space is happening in our backyard, right?
Yes. The
Yeah.
rumblings right in our backyard.
So, in case the audience
Yes.
doesn't know, and you're in like Florida or Australia or something like that,
Florida
hey, you never know. They might. So,
on
Card
the
Vault,
beach.
I would say
Yeah.
Card Vault is a pretty high end card shop. So they've got locations where the
Yeah.
Celtics play and the Bruins
Mhm.
play. TD Garden, they got a location like right there as you enter. Can't miss it.
Yep.
They got a place in Foxwoods, which, if you don't know, is just this massive casino
In
in
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Hmm.
That's not too far from Boston, a couple hours, whatever. And they've got one at Gillette, which is where the Pats play. So Gillette not
Hmm.
only has the Patriots, but they've got a massive compound and some great businesses and bars, and it's just booming,
Yeah.
really. And
Shopping and yeah, all that stuff.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's awesome. And Carvault's there,
Hmm.
and now we drop this bomb, and I think my hunch is that Carvault's going to be in a lot more places. So um, it's interesting. I always think about businesses. You look at dry cleaning
Hmm.
or barbers or something like that, and if you can create a brand that is valuable, like a nationwide type of brand, that can do some damage. And no card shop to date ever in the history of sports cards has pulled this off. So there's never like
Nope.
been a national sports card shop
Mm-mm.
to my knowledge. There may be, there's online stuff we all know about Steel City and David Adams and all of that. But they're all like Jeff Wilson's shop is his shop in Atlanta, right? And the big one in Florida is there. But there's not like, every 200 miles you have a card vault by Tom
Sure.
Brady. And I find it fascinating. I mean, we could talk for hours about this, but there's the element of Brady and celebrities viewing this market as a
Hmm.
multi-billion-dollar market with potential, and they are also on the cards, so it's kind of interesting, right?
It is.
Um, but also just from a business perspective, taking this local card shop. And if you're the owner, Chris, you're like, oh, geez, all I have to do is give you half the company and I get Tom Brady to back it up in the name. And
And
now
now we're gonna go nationwide, maybe? Like,
exactly.
yeah, come on.
Yeah,
Come
so
on.
I think you could see one of these. You'll go to
Yeah.
your LA, your Miami, your maybe Nashville would be kind of a fun place.
Mm.
Austin, like your growth centers, your population growth centers in the U.S. that are booming towns, and you throw one of these there where there's a decent set of collectors, and
Hmm.
I think this might work. Now I know you can probably talk a bit more about this, LZ. Like the card shop itself is very interesting. It's
Yeah.
very different than the local LCS. Why don't you talk about
Yeah.
that? Because we're talking off air.
Sure. Yeah. It's as Nick mentioned, it is a high-end card shop. So
Yeah,
it's not going to be your typical downtown and sleepy wherever town. You walk in and you got beautiful leather chairs. You got like a seating area in these. You got
yeah,
some like TVs on the walls with whatever, some game on. So there's usually a good area to kind of chill and watch a game, rip some cards. They definitely have glass cases with some cards in there. And then they have in every one of their stores their vault.
yeah.
So they have this beautiful vault in
It
one of
looks
the
like an old
corners.
bank vault.
It
Like,
does.
yeah,
It's got the big door and it's like a big safe door and there's windows so you can look in the vault and there is high end cards in these vaults. Now, when I've gone in there, I personally have never seen anybody buy anything from the vault.
It has been
Um,
quiet, yeah, when I've ever been in there.
yeah, I mean, because these cards, they're like,
You're
these are
not gonna
five
stroll in.
hundred thousand
You're
dollar
about to buy a hot
cards.
dog and a popcorn and
Yeah,
go to a game for a couple $100, and you look up and it's like, oh, geez, $1 million card and
yeah,
a $500,000
Mahomes rookie PSA 10. It's like,
yeah,
all right, yeah,
RPA
like
for Luca. Like, yeah, it's just crazy stuff.
right, right.
No dollar bins.
Their their locations. I'm trying to like break it down. Like their locations are perfect for that. Their locations that they have and this vault in their store are perfect for like the shock and awe, and I call it the sizzle.
Yeah,
There's a lot of sizzle when you go into these
it's good
stores.
marketing. The players pop in too.
Totally, totally good marketing, right? You have all this foot traffic going into a Celtics game. They look in the window, they see this cool vault, and maybe they get laser focused. Like one time I walked in there and they had a sealed case of 1986 Flair basketball. Like that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
And you can
150
notice
grand.
that. You notice that box, right? It was on the shelf. And so for that, the Foxwoods, when you're walking through, you just won 10 grand in Foxwoods on
F it.
blackjack, and
Yeah,
and
let's
you
get a.
walk past that vault and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna go in there and grab that. So it's really cool. It is for those that don't probably live in the New England area, you're not gonna see something like this. So
No.
I would say definitely go check it out because it is something that you've probably never seen
It's also
before.
easy for tourists to check out because it's at two or three
It
tourist
is.
destinations.
Yeah,
Big
it
games,
is.
big areas. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Nick, I want to get into, I guess, let's like take some educated guesses on Brady owns. He's an owner of Fanatics. He's an
Yeah,
investor. He owns some of Fanatics.
he has invested in Fanatics.
Yes.
Nobody's disclosed the amount or the
Yeah.
exact relationship, but we all know that him and Michael Rubin are very close.
Very close.
When
So
I met
what?
with Michael Rubin, he said they were like best friends, basically. So
Yeah.
he's heavily involved in Fanatics.
So you can look at it from a couple ways. One is he's seen, and I'm sure he's talked to Michael around the logistics, the operations that are involved in creating all these tops products and all the other products that they're developing. And
And the
he
market and the
probably
business
he,
side of it too.
he probably understands the margins behind it, Nick, right? He understands. And Ruben is very close to a lot of the big breakers. And I'm sure he knows a lot of the financials of the big sellers like Dave and Adams. So he's probably feeding Brady all this information and understanding like the opportunity that may be out there with a recognizable card shop that maybe he could get behind.
Yeah.
So it is interesting.
Yeah, it's funny how he pulled it off. Like
Yeah.
even if the shops aren't doing well, I have no visibility into their financials. I can't even guess. I know they're also bulk submitters and they probably do quite well with that. They also break.
Hmm.
Um, but even if they were doing poor financially, he made a pretty interesting bet. And I think the flash paid off in this case because now the shop was noticed by Michael Rubin, who's a sports fan, Tom
Yep.
Brady, who is a
Hmm.
former Patriot, right? Like he's
Hmm.
probably heard of this card shop that's at his old stadium
Yeah.
through someone, okay?
Hmm.
If not Robert Kraft, who has like been by the shop, okay? They've also been involved in the Hobby Rip Nights, so they've done that very vocally, and they've had celebrities. I don't know if he had Brady at this particular one, but no, he had Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum.
He was part of
Yeah.
the Rip Night there, so that was
Hmm.
huge, and it does
I
make me
mean,
think
he's
like,
Nick. He's breaking. He's on. Chris is on IG and with Ruben and Dana White ripping
yeah,
UFC cards. So Chris
the
alone
connections there.
is a very good marketer, like in a very good, just kind of probably networker. The
Yeah.
fact that he knows he's wheeling and dealing with all these guys.
Yeah, and he has the
So
benefit of it's either his father or his uncle, is an
I think
old
it's his
Boston
uncle.
radio guy that we
Yeah.
all know. And
Yeah.
so it's great. He's plugged in and he could
Hmm.
just kind of get on WEEI, which is our local sports station, and just be like, what's up? We got a card show. And Cardvault, like, they also run some pretty kick ass card shows. Like, they've got one at Fenway Park,
Hmm.
which
The
people
Fenway
love.
show. Yep.
They got the Causeway Card Show, which is at the Garden. And
Yep.
I think they did one at Gillette once too.
They did.
So
Yeah, at least one.
so
Hmm.
that he's doing all this cool stuff. It's great. Like it increases the interest in everything. But what's interesting to me is there's some tells here. It's like Brady's not an idiot. He's not going to waste his money. And so if he's going to buy 50% of an asset that is in the millions and probably tens of millions of dollars to
Mhm.
purchase, he probably has done his homework, with Michael Rubin, who's one of his best friends, and probably
Yeah.
the other people who run the financials at Fanatics. And he's probably said, "Holy crap, this market is quite profitable, or going to explode." And so, if Brady's placing this kind of bet, it tells
Mhm.
me that this market is healthy and probably going to look more healthy as we go forward. So that decline that we're thinking, they're going to print their way out of it and gamble their way out of it. And B, I think that they are, they're thinking like, okay, the future here is bright. Like this is something that's
Mhm.
important. And
Mhm.
so, you could start to say, all right, well, I feel good about the sports card space based on this behavior, I guess.
Mhm. Nick, you did touch on one thing around the locations, and I was kind of thinking about this. I, I would like to understand their day-to-day operations at Card Vault because
Yeah.
they have, like I mentioned, a lot of sizzle, and they're in some very high traffic areas. But on a random Wednesday, is somebody coming into that shop strictly to buy wax?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know. But, because Chris had mentioned that their business model is to find they really like to be like right outside of a stadium.
Hmm.
Because there's great marketing, great brand awareness outside of a stadium. But it'll be interesting to see kind of the future of this. And can you repeat this and turn a profit? Because outside these stadiums, that's expensive
We
retail
don't even
space.
know if they're profitable. We don't have any
Yeah.
visibility into the financials. So maybe Brady's
No.
taking. I have no
Yeah.
idea. I can't even guess
Hmm.
because I don't have visibility into all their revenue streams. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always a place. We can talk about the ideal card shop in a minute, but
Mm.
there's a place for Neiman Marcus, right?
Yep.
Extremely low volume, but extremely high price, and there's a place for J.C. Penney. We're just churning and burning, and
Ooh.
it's lower margins. There's a
Ooh.
place for
It's a
both, and
bad.
then
Oh, it's a bad example. I
all right,
think
fine.
JC Penny.
Neiman
I
Marcus
think I think JC
and
Penny is
Old
bankrupt. I
Navy.
don't think they're around anymore. Are they?
Okay.
I don't think
I
they are. No,
I
it's
don't know.
fine. It's fine. No, we could go whatever, any other retail store, but
Walmart
yeah.
and Neiman
Yeah.
Marcus.
Yeah,
You know what I
there we
mean?
go.
It's like
There we
two
go.
different things.
No, it's interesting. I'm very curious to see kind of where they take this. Like you had mentioned that they're bulk submitters, right? So um
Yeah.
even them doing that, like they can do that behind the scenes. I mean, that's not happening in their storefront. It's happening in the back room. Like there are plenty of other parts of this business that are going to be interesting to see kind of what happens with it. And I do think, well, we know Brady is a part owner of the Raiders in Las Vegas. So you are rest assured that there's going to be a card vault
Yeah. Vegas is
outside
an
of Raiders
obvious.
of the Raiders Stadium.
That might even be the
Uh,
next one, to be honest.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
think,
just
yeah,
funny, man.
yeah.
All roads all roads lead back to Fanatics. It's like Brady's
Mhm.
connected to Fanatics and Chris is now connected to Brady, and it's just like the mothership. It's wild.
The
Really is.
mothership.
It
I know
really is.
it is. All right, let's. So more to come with
Mm.
Card Vault. We'll wait and kind of see what's happening there. Let's take a minute, you and I, and think about the perfect local card shop.
Perfect
What
local
what
card shop.
is like if you were gonna start a local card shop today,
Mm.
the location be generic location. Secondly would be how big is the store gonna be? What type of product are you gonna carry? Are you going to be doing bulk submissions and breaking in the back? So let's kind of break this
It's a tough
down into
question
maybe
because it's
like
like it's ideal for
five.
who? Now,
Yeah.
I'm very Machiavellian and capitalistic. So if
Mm,
I'm going to open a shop, I'm going to
mhm.
I'm going to go the a-hole route, okay? I'm going to open a
Okay.
shop for profit, okay?
Okay. Well,
For
that's
everybody.
good. Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
You can do maybe you could do the nice shop that's
Okay.
good for like,
All right.
little
Huh?
Timmy or whatever. All right.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing a card shop right now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get, I don't know, the cheapest burb within, I don't know, 20 miles of Boston. All right. Something like
Okay.
that. The
Mm-hmm.
cheapest town I could find. I'm going to find something that's on a main road and it's probably the size of my room here in terms of like the showcase space.
Okay.
And
Uh-huh.
it's gonna have a decent back room, and I'm gonna find a really hot local chick. She's gonna be a breaker like the next day. We're gonna start a Whatnot channel, and we're just going to try to crank product online, get an online store going, get it flowing on the socials, and just start to like bring in people from across the country to buy
Hmm.
your stuff. So provide a way to do that online and all of that,
Hmm.
and then yeah, you'll get people in and do your typical sales and try to get your wax and try to get your allocation. I think that's a good start. You got to throw a dollar bin or two in there just to keep people happy. It's probably going to be 60% Pokemon and 40% sports cards. Feels about right. Maybe even 70-30 in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then I don't know. I would say once a quarter, I'm going to rent out the freaking Elks Club or something like that, and I'm going to do a tournament. And I'm just going to, just rake. I'm going to
Like a
charge people.
Pokemon
Yeah, of
tournament?
course.
Okay.
Pokemon tournament, TCG
Hmm.
tournaments, Magic tournaments. I'm going to
Magic.
charge
Yeah.
people, and I'm gonna rake in 5 figures off every tournament I run, and then also promote the shop at the same time. Um, I don't know. That's just me. That's how I'd roll with it. It's not what the hobby wants, but that's what we have to do. You got to have a little bit of an area for some stuff to get sold. You've
Mm-hmm.
got to break to turn a profit, and then you've got to run tournaments to make a profit there too. So that's what I
Yeah.
would do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to go a little bit different route. I would like to see a local card shop in a downtown area,
Hmm.
somewhere where kids after school can go ride their bikes. All
Okay.
right. I think that is really going to help the future of the hobby. Instead of having to beg your mother to take you to this place that you can't get to because it's on a highway or a busy
Just
street.
there.
So, similar to Mark's Card Shop, who we had on a couple months ago, right? I love that story about how kids are coming there every day after school. I think that's awesome. Um, I don't think the store has to be huge, but I do think it needs to be welcoming. So it can't be one of these dingy old ones that we see that are still out there today. I think we would need to embrace fanatics, right? That includes some of their marketing material, kind of all that. So it would be very well branded as well. Um, I do think that you got to go real hard into Pokemon because Nick and I have been talking about this, and I know eventually we'll do a dedicated show on this one. But
Yeah.
this is the wave is coming, everybody. This is feeling more and more like it is the future. It feels like every local card shop we talk to is getting into it. They know that they need to do it.
Pokemon IP is double
Mm,
Marvel and Star Wars combined globally.
yeah,
Just get
that's
that through your head.
wild.
That is
That's
wild.
wild.
We don't
That's
live in
wild.
China. We don't live in
Hmm.
Japan. We don't
Hmm.
understand that here.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
I
not this episode.
I do want to see cases that include lots of different cards. So
Mm.
we have a couple local shops around here that you go over to the cases and it's like only Celtics players, only Bruins
That's
players.
so
And it's
true.
like,
Even the card
come.
shows around here. It's funny. Like
Yeah,
they just throw a bunch of Celtics players. It's like I'm already obsessed with the Celtics. I got those covered. Like
right.
I don't. I want to see the other
Hmm.
stuff. And I mean, yeah, they do. But like, it's funny you say that. I had the same thought.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a scaled down version of the Burbank shop. I think Rob does a great job with that,
Yeah,
right?
that dude's running a
Just a
ridiculous operation. Yeah,
yeah, that's an
ridiculous.
incredible
High
operation, right?
tech,
So,
you know.
but it's a big store, and I
Yeah.
I I mean, floating that store that would be
But it's
tough. I think
friendly.
it.
Like the kids go there and hang out, like you're
Hmm.
saying, and it's not just like
Yep.
this capitalistic. He doesn't even break.
Right.
He's doing
Right.
just fine.
Now, to the point you made, I definitely need a back room, and I will be breaking.
Yeah.
As a local card shop, I need to do two things. One is I need to be breaking, and another one is I need to have an online presence.
Yeah. Because
Now,
how are you going to
whether
get your
that,
allocation? You got to network
yeah,
and build your
right.
online presence.
Now, is that directly through eBay? Is it through one of these others, or is it my own store? I don't know, but
Probably all you got to have an
you
eBay
gotta
shop.
you
You
gotta do
have that's
probably
like a
eBay.
requirement.
Hmm.
That's like day
Yep.
one. Open up an eBay store.
Yeah.
But yeah, the others that's optional, right? Whatnot
Hmm.
channel,
Yep.
Max Live channel, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting.
I do think it would be good. We were talking about Card Vault. I think it would be cool to have an area where people can chill and hang out. for the day,
Yeah.
especially on the
Yeah.
weekends, right? A
Yeah. Watch
TV, a
sports.
couch,
Most people in there watch sports or
have some
Pokemon
food
like to
in
trade.
there, right? There is a good local card shop that has a great kind of Pokemon Magic area next to it, where like
Yeah.
right in the back where you can do battles and competitions like that. So I kind of I like that idea, Nick.
Hmm.
So that's my idea. Have some cool music. You and I are big
Yeah.
music people, right? Just make it inviting.
Let's put it
Oh,
to
and
the
the other
audience
thing
too.
too, Nick, the other thing is everybody who works in my shop is not going to be too cool for school because there are some shops that I go in and you walk in there and you feel uncomfortable and you're like, oh, shoot, I don't even know if I should talk to somebody at the counter because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not cool enough.
They need to be
Like,
real.
very inviting. It needs to be great customer service. Very good customer service.
I agree. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, put it
Yeah.
out to the audience too before we do our question of the day. Like let us know, what is
Mm,
your ideal shop? Like if you would open a shop right now, what would you do? It's kind of an
yeah.
interesting challenge because the space is changing. And
Hmm.
a shop in Nebraska is going to have to do different things than a shop in Alaska. So,
Right.
all right,
Right. All
question
right.
of
You
the
have a
day.
question for me?
Is this one mine? All right. Yeah, I got this one.
You sure? All
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Here we
I got
go.
this one. Here
Buckle
we
up,
go.
everybody.
All
All right.
right. If you and your family had to leave the United States, you can't live here anymore. You've been kicked out. I don't know. Either you committed a crime or you got to leave. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but your slate is wiped clean. Your job is intact. You can keep your
Okay.
job.
Work
Everything is basically the
remotely.
same. But
Okay.
you can't live in the United States anymore. You can't live in Alaska. You can't live in Hawaii. And even the tertiary stuff like Puerto Rico, you can't live there. You have to live in another country for the rest of your life. What country are you going to live in?
Ooh. I have to take my whole family with me, so I have
Yeah.
kids.
Well, if you want to. I mean, I guess you could go by yourself.
I mean my gut reaction first one that came to mind was someplace like Costa Rica,
Yeah.
right? Just some beautiful like warm weather climate. I think that would be really cool. It's got to be someplace on the beach too. Actually, you know what? No, I know what it's going to be. It's going to be Australia. I'd want to move to Australia. That's kind of the easy route because they speak our language and all that. But and it would have to be kind of the warm weather area of Australia is where I'd want to go.
Yeah, the
So,
warmth.
yeah.
That is something up here. It's
Oh,
I do
it
hate the
kills you, man.
cold. I mean, yeah, it's funny. For me, I always I've thought about this seriously before too, for our family. Like I have a lot of immediate family in Germany and I love Germany, but it's still cold.
Yeah,
So
it is.
that doesn't really fly with me. I love the island life though. I like being separated from things. As
Mhm.
long as I've got my Humira, like for my autoimmune stuff, I think I'd go to Bermuda. I like that
Okay.
place. It's not too tropical. It's very British and working
Hmm.
class. They have a great financial infrastructure.
Hmm.
It's plenty of jobs. The weather's great. It's not so touristy. There's a side that's touristy, and then there's a side that's not so bad. And you can get back to Boston. Yeah, well, you're not allowed back, but in an
Not
ideal world,
allowed.
if I was allowed back, you can get back
No.
to Boston very quickly from Bermuda. Like it's a couple hour flight, like it's no big
Mhm.
deal. And it's protected from most of the gnarly storms too. So that's what I would choose.
Okay. All right. Let's
Cool.
hear it,
All right,
audience.
let us
Do
know
you
where you
agree?
live,
Disagree?
everybody, or what
Yeah.
country. Sell us on your countries because we have a lot of
Yes.
international listeners. Why should we pick yours?
All right.
All
Cool.
right, thanks
All right.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.